Everybody's there. Pat and I, well, you know, in North Carolina, husbands have to be there too. I never did understand that, as you know, because they have some claim to the property because they happen to marry you.
Really?
It just galls me. But at any rate, we were all there. We walked in his office, door not locked. No one was there. It was 1 o'clock. They had a long lunch. And when he finally got there, he had done nothing. He hadn't prepared the deed to be for us to decide to transfer the property to the person who was buying it.
Oh, you meant you wanted it ready today?
Oh my God.
Joyce got so mad she had to walk out.
I left because I
left me
blown
to be the
It was an
peacemaker.
upsetting moment anyway for you. It was not an easy time.
a state senator. And I had never dealt with such as that. Of course, probably at lunchtime, instead of going home, he probably went to see his girlfriend. I mean, so maybe it took a little bit longer that day. Anyway, yes, I thought he was older than 70, 70.
I did too.
I was surprised that that's all he was. He had lived hard and been put up wet, apparently.
He died doing a heart catheterization.
Yeah, so we got the paperwork done while we waited. The secretary, or whatever she was, did it. And then we went to the person who was buying it and got the check. I mean, we had to physically go to his place of business and pick up the check.
Oh, good. I'm sorry I brought it up.
Wow, that was a bad
moment in
scene.
time. A moment in time. What else can we say about our family?
So do you feel nostalgic about that house? Because that was the house that you were
I did.
always lived in.
I did. We moved there when I was 3, and it's the only one I really, really remember.
I was 10.
Oh.
And a bit, but not like Pat, because after all, I wasn't there but about 7 years, really. And I remember funny stories from some of the other places we lived.
Really?
But the thing about this house was, after I got married, Mother had it added on to it, had it bricked, and changed it so much. It wasn't exactly the same house that I grew up in, but it was still the only home I remember. But that was a little part of me that wanted to hang on to it, but I knew that was foolish, that there were none of us who were planning to go back to it.
Do you all still have vegetable gardens? Do you do that as part of your routines?
Daddy's the one that always had those. We never either.
Oh,
Well, I don't know if you all ever did not. We never did.
Nothing
But Daddy was always
tomatoes and
Tomatoes,
peppers,
right,
yeah.
cucumbers. Good about the two.
Yeah.
And you don't do that.
We did, before we moved. We moved 1.5 years ago to a townhouse. And up until that point, we had a huge garden in our backyard.
Do you miss not having it now? Because
No.
you always thought it was
That's
too much
It's
work.
a lot of work.
We have a tomato bed over at our daughter's house, and that was really the only thing that I would miss.
So do y'all say, I'm from Sunbury?
Yes, I do.
Is that where you? I'm from Sunbury. And they say, where's Sunbury?
That's right.
Everybody says that.
Because even today, Gates County and I guess Chorlton County, you can't say that very much has happened in either of those counties as far as development. That is still a poor section of North Carolina.
But there have been a lot of new people who have moved in to
Virginia.
leave the city.
Virginians, yeah.
Yes. And a lot of trailer parks have developed.
It's the other day, Pat and I went to a funeral of somebody in Daddy's family, and the ladies who were serving the refreshments, I don't know how we got off on that, about how things have changed in Sunbury and not for the better, because our generation didn't go back, and what's happened, not so much to Mother and Daddy's house, because that house is well kept, but what's happened to so many places that we remember fondly, they've gone to rack and ruin. I mean, it's like a bunch of gypsies.
I wanted to ask you, have y'all been to the grave and the Ward of
Yes.
I knew you had to. Because when we went by there,
Ferris wheel you're
last
talking about?
Tuesday.
No, oh, Ferris.
Richard had put the pansies on there.
Well, they've been
Daddy's
beautiful.
birthday.
They really have.
And he said, I know they are dead. They have to be dead. And when we got there, they were just beautiful. And I said, Pat and Joyce, what the hell? They have ordered these.
We've watered them regularly.
Oh,
Really?
thank you so
Well,
much.
they were so pretty, and this fall we keep something live on our parents.
Are they at the same?
Yes,
They
yeah,
one
they-
here and one here. And we keep something live, and in the summer we do geraniums, and in the winter we do pansies. And you can do that. I mean, I wonder how much longer we'll be able to do that, because in country cemeteries you can do that, whereas in a city cemetery, if you try to do that, people steal things. They steal them terrible
I
in
know.
Suffolk.
They do in Elizabeth City. Also.
And so usually on those two cemeteries or graves, you'll find something live. The pansies work well in the fall and winter. But this fall, because it's been so warm, we've had a really hard time keeping those pansies alive. So every time I come from the beach or go to the beach, or every time Pat goes that way, we water. But they work pretty.
Have you been by there since the Christmas holiday started? There are those things over there.
Yeah, we saw
You know,
on Monday.
All those things they put over the
Those
tombstones.
saddle.
I want the saddle. I want to get rid of them so bad. Thanks. I want to go through there because I could do it in about
It looked like
15
a
minutes.
carnival or something. The other day when we
It's awful.
were, it was awful.
It's just really
Is it fake
dreadful.
flowers or something?
Yes.
And they-
Oh,
they-
And, you know, and I rather see
Not
just the tombstone and the
There.
bears.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's just
And that's what we intend to do if we get so that, you know, we can't keep
You
something
just
live.
cannot leave
Right.
it all. When I turned in.
I have this really, I just want to go through, I know I could go too fast. Go too fast and take those things off.
Well, if I read something in the paper, I'm going to pretend I don't know. Right. Choice Pop, native daughter. In the Gates County Jail.
But they are awful, they really are. But anyway, on those two graves, we keep fresh things. And the geraniums do quite well in the summer, for the most part.
Well, when Richard and Kay took the pansies down there, they forgot to take a jug of water. And all Richard had was a black cup of tea in the car, so he put that on.
Tea.
He knew they couldn't have survived all this time without water.
You know, when I was growing up, when Brinkley was coming, it was a really, really big thing when Brinkley was coming. Why? Well, because she was coming from some exotic something or other, you know?
So she was the one who escaped, kind of, and
Yes,
left,
yes.
and so everybody,
Absolutely.
did they sort of, you know, hate or love her for it, or just feel like you left us, but boy, weren't you lucky?
Yeah.
Very
They
good.
never did anything wrong.
Oh, really?
Well, now, Mother and Brinkley argued.
Go figure. Yeah.
Mother and Brinkley argued
Yes.
a lot. I always got
They
joy.
disagreed.
About what?
Politics.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
They were this, you know,
Oh, was your mother Republican?
Well,
Mother's was very conservative.
very, very conservative.
Really?
Oh,
I don't know whether she ever voted Republican or not. I don't
She
know.
didn't early on, but I think
I
later
think she
she
voted
did.
for
Really? I never dreamed she would vote Republican.
Brinkley told
yeah.
me her family would not have ever voted Republican.
I
That
think
we were all
toward the later years
Democrats.
they did.
Well, Mother got,
Well, your mother is a diehard Democrat.
Yes, she is.
but they argued. I mean, I enjoyed their arguments. I thought they were entertaining to me.
Sure.
And they were tit for tat. They were tit for tat. I don't think she and they never argued. Well, your mother didn't argue with people.
No,
That was not her nature.
upsetting to her.
That was upsetting. She didn't argue with people. She smoothed things.
I think Mother looked forward to
The
those
bantering
entertainments.
with
Yes.
Brinkley.
The banner
Yes.
back and forth, I agree.
So what would they argue about? Like
Everything.
taxes or
You name
what religion was carried? Did she raise you Baptist?
No, we were Christian.
Congregational Christian.
Congregational Christian. Is that conservative or what is that?
Well, any church in the country,
Yeah,
any church in the rural area, it tends to be more conservative, I think.
But not to the point that the Baptist church.
Not like the Baptist stuff, not like the Baptists.
So were you raised Baptist?
No,
we
were all the same
all the
church.
same
Yeah.
church. Because one of the things Brinkley said as we were growing up was that she wanted to be very liberal about our selection of churches and everything, and we, from my secretary made the fudge.
And then here we are, because we want to have.
But her feeling was, yes, you can, entertain the Jewish religion, be Catholic, be Buddhist, be Hindu, but don't be one of these conservative Baptists. And do not go to one of those churches where they have a lot of emotion. That was the thing that she feared the most. And so that was the only churches, those were the only people almost that we were not allowed to have as friends. That she was, because it was lower class, and it was just too emotive for her, because she liked that contained Victorian way of being.
I do too, I think you stand on it, all
Yeah, mother had some unkind things to say about some of the Baptists. And
Oh, she
sort
did
of-
too? Do you think that came from, because they were raised as Baptists, were they
Yeah.
not?
And then I married a man who was a Baptist and wouldn't change.
Oh, really?
But he has changed now, we just don't go at all, so.
Do you know,
And mother didn't go that.
and you know though,
Really?
she got,
She got put out about something at Damascus Church too.
she got put out, yes, she did, but mother,
That where her funeral was?
in the cemetery.
Right.
Mother was a very sensitive person. Her exterior, she attempted to project a rough exterior, but she was too sensitive for her own good sometimes, I think, and she got her feelings hurt easily. I bumbled through that, and I was old before I realized that, but because I sure did damage her feelings from time to time, but I couldn't help it.
Don't you think our moms were pretty?
Mm-hmm.
But mother always thought she was ugly.
Mother
She
thought
thought she was ugly.
Mary thought she was
did.
ugly?
Mhm.
Why would she thought that? Because she was told she was nothing by her parents, do you think?
Even in her last weeks, one of the nurses asked her something about her family or something, and she said that she had, how many sisters would it have been if you put them all together? Norma Mary Blanche, Brinkley, that she had 6 sisters, and that they were all prettier than she was. Mama always thought that she wasn't, as she was as a young woman. We have pictures of her. She was a beautiful young woman, just as Brinkley was.
I never knew that.
But Brinkley, but now if you look at not here. She was that red hair. You know, she must have been something. I bet she was something. You know, really.
Do you have early pictures of her?
No,
You
I
don't. What a sad thing.
Where's the red hair gone, though? Did
Well,
it
I remember her
Richard's
having.
children.
My brother has 2 redheaded boys.
Really? Great. I remember her red hair.
Mm-hmm.
It turned white, but you could still see the red in it.
I think Brinkley had more confidence than mother did, and
Absolutely.
mother maybe felt second.
If Brinkley didn't have it, she projected that she did.
Do you think Brinkley was vain when she was young?
No.
You didn't think so?
You think so?
I don't know. I didn't know her when she was young.
I knew her when she dated Willie Jr. Hoffler. Do y'all remember that?
No.
Was that before your time? And when she was discussing moving, which she does about every other month.
Oh,
you know.
absolutely.
And I said, well, have you considered Manio? I said, your old boyfriend is there.
Oh, really?
And she said, who's that? And I told her, Willie Jr. And she said, oh, I treated him so shabbily. He was such a nice guy.
Well, when we had that other luncheon, I was telling Kristen she had pictures, which Kristen was unaware she had anything like this, of her childhood. And one page was just full of her boyfriend. little school portraits.
I think boys came from all over.
For her.
And I think that might have been a part of Mother's feeling that she must be the ugly duckling. And Mother certainly wasn't.
Not.
And actually, Daddy dated her before he did Mother.
Oh, yeah.
A little resentment there, I'm sure.
Very interesting.
But I think that Brinkley was just an attractive, beautiful even. And I don't say this unkindly, but I think she exuded sex. You look at her pictures when
the way she
was
does
young.
that, yes. The way she holds
The way she holds
herself.
herself. I mean, you look at a picture of her at 16 when she graduated from high school. I mean, whew.
And maybe that was one of the reasons
Men
she tried
flock
to
to her.
damp her with us. Here she had 2 big-breasted daughters, who loved today, loved today.
I think that had something to do with it.
Well, I remember when I started wearing her bra songs, she said, you cannot do that. Or the underwear, it had to be a different size. We're not going to, because I said, well, why? Because it gets mixed up in the laundry and we're not going to do
you wear a
so
size
I had to have size 14 pants, full size, while hers were petite.
She always had better bras than I did.
Right.
To get her bras out, they were better than mine.
I wonder what my children are going to say about
Well, do you have all your children together at Christmas time?
Yeah. We will be at my brother's house on Christmas Eve, and then my daughter-in-law has taken over Christmas Day. So we'll have Christmas at my son and daughter-in-law's house. But I got an inkling of what they would say. I mentioned we moved 1.5 years ago, and our daughter and son and families came over to help us move. And if you could have heard the comments, do you know how many shoes Mother has? Look at this hat. Who would wear that?
Mother had shoes she'd not even take out of the box.
Really?
Oh, I
Shoe
did
lady.
too. Mine like
Brinkley was a shoe. Do you know she ruined her feet putting herself into size 5 shoes? She loved the idea that she could wear size 5 shoes, and she's got bunions and the worst feet that you've ever seen. Because that's one thing she used to say, is, I have small feet. Look how big your feet are.
one little connection, intimacy that we did do with Brinkley, because she didn't get a lot of love and touch and all, of course, after she was widowed. Do my toes, do my toes.
We would cut her bunions. That was her most favorite
rub
thing.
her feet, push her cuticles back.
When you think about it, your mother had such a brief marriage. 14
It was
years.
brief, right. I mean, I've
She's
been married
been-
31 years.
Yeah, your mother's been.
Well, the timing and the shock of Sweet's death, it was
She was
terrible.
gone a lot.
To be pregnant and to have your husband taken away.
Well, and
I never thought of it in
truthfully,
terms of a brief marriage.
It was a brief
Because I was
marriage.
saying, after 7, 8 years, we are still newlyweds, in this family.
Very brief. Very brief. Really, it was. Well, let's see. What other little bits?
Well, what do your children ask? Do y'all's children ask about their family?
They
Yeah.
really don't.
they don't.
I mean, Nathan, my children don't.
And I didn't ask questions either, and so I guess that's why I really don't
How
know
old was
much.
Carrie when she got married?
She was 2 months shy of 20.
So she was very young, and it probably was time for her.
But that wasn't really so young.
Really?
No, not then.
But she graduated at 17.
23 or 4. So it was late. I always wondered why Brinkley didn't get married sooner. It just seemed not fit.
She would have.
Yeah.
Had she married that Jack
Yeah.
Ballard. So
But-
how long
and
did
I
she
think
go with
that-
him?
I just
recall.
I was just too
but
young
I
for
know
that.
that she was very, very much in love with him. And then just all of a sudden, something happened. And like I say, that was more whispering. What was it? You know?
Well, what were
Did
some
he
of
get shot in the wrong place?
Oh my.
Have a venereal
Never would
disease.
reveal. She said,
Yeah.
I never want to hear his name again.
Oh, she was mad then. So maybe he had an affair or
Right,
something like
maybe.
that.
Well, I know Dad said, you marry me now or I'm moving on.
Right.
I'm going to
And
get
I
married,
want a
I want to get married.
family. It was his big thing to have a family.
And then she didn't have any warm clothes, and she was coming over to Ohio to meet her mother-in-law. And so Dad bought her a mink coat.
You've heard this story.
Coat. And they came in on a train, and here Brinkley comes out with her mink coat. And Alma, who was very frugal, goes, "Oh my God.
Is that her?
Is that her?" And didn't speak to her for like a whole day. Is that her? And then will tell the story that on Alma's deathbed, Alma said, "I'm sorry I was so mean to you." You know, she climbed in bed with her hug. "I'm sorry I was so mean to you."
But your mother probably then would have been married when she was 21 or 22, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. So, and then that didn't work out. And she always said, you know, the thing to do was to marry well. And she married well. And she used to say that to us as we grew up. You know, marrying a Navy officer, an officer in the military was the best you could do then. It was better than doctor or lawyer. I married well.
Well, I know when she bought the house here at the beach, she said she wanted her children to have a good address.
Good address, good school, but hey, I struggled to dress up to par, you know, that kind of thing.
We didn't have furniture in the house that was decent. We had an address, that was it. And we were told we couldn't go to the south end of the beach because that's where people in trailers lived. And you couldn't date anybody who lived south of a certain street because they were too poor. And that we were supposed to go to cotillions, and we were supposed to do all of those things, and that we must remember we came from a good family. That was what was so hard for me, that she was so rigid about the kinds of people that she would accept into her home.
And she was a poor person.
Yeah, she just had no understanding of people who were blue-collar workers, people who struggled, people who lived in a house.
Is she that way now?
Oh no, I think she's very accepting now.
I haven't seen that side.
Oh,
I don't think so. I think that she set up things for Zoe and I. I don't think that was the same for her sons. It was those were the criteria for her daughters that were very.
I don't feel like I grew up with any prejudices. You know, I don't feel like I was taught
monetary ones in terms of people who.
And that was our.
Or like what she said about Skip's father, for example.
What did she say about him?
Well, when he was going to be at the baptism, do you remember that?
Oh.
Of Nathan?
Right.
And she couldn't see. There's something really, really ugly about him. He'd been a sailor. And every once in a while, those really ugly things would come out. Yeah, like, why would you need to have him, a sailor, something really, really base, instead of me, kind of like I'm from the good family, I'm the person that you need to have it. Why would you set the baptism around him? And it was so ugly that you cancel the baptism. And
Nathan got baptized when he was 11.
Right, because that baptism hadn't worked out because Brinkley raised us. And
he was going to come up. The Skip King family was going to come up to wherever she lived at the time in Pennsylvania.
Right, she didn't want him around. It would embarrass her.
That was too inconvenient, you know, to have to deal with another family. It just would put her out.
Well, it's like when I was going to get married to David, and I wrote her and I said, and we're getting married, and she wrote back and she said, I have 2 dates in June available for the marriage. You will come home and I have your bridesmaids picked out, and we will have it as a family thing, and I know the church, and we will have a champagne fountain at the house.
Oh my God.
And I just immediately said, no, this is not going to happen. And so that's when I said, we're getting married in Chicago, and we're going to have our people, and you're welcome to come. And then she said, well, I'm not coming, and we said, fine, and she showed up anyway.
We all did.
Well, and we knew everybody else was coming, but we kept saying, if you're coming, let us know. We'll pick you up at the airport. We know you don't like traveling to Chicago. We know you don't like Chicago. And, of course, we did it on our own with whatever money we had, and it was very, very cheap wedding. It was a hippie wedding, but it was in a church, and the wine was very cheap. I mean, it was cheap wine that you drink when you're young, and that was her first thing. It was cheap wine. It was just so, you know. She has her controlling, overly controlling moments about how things are supposed to look. It's a
But you
look.
know, I think Mother was like that a bit, certainly. And it wasn't easy meeting her standards.
Oh, yeah.
Your mother's standards were really, really high.
Yeah,
Some of us may not have lived up to them.
they
You can never live up to them.
they
We heard you were brilliant. That was everything we ever heard. Was these two cousins were brilliant. Didn't you go to UNC?
No, that was Joyce.
That was you.
But she
Well, I
went
did
too.
too.
But
Yeah.
she went.
I took a business course. I was ready to be finished and move on to getting married and all that good stuff,
Wow.
rather than
Do the academic thing so you couldn't.
As much as Mother supported us, and she dedicated her life to us to a large degree, probably Frances had a closer relationship with Mother.
Hi there.
Hey.
How's my boy?
Great.
These are my cousins, Nathan, you've met them before.
Yeah. Hello, Nathan.
Yeah.
I know we woke you up much earlier. I know we had to.
I see this one.
Well,
You
good.
guys been really hard.
Well, being in college helps too, to be able to sleep through anything.
Absolutely. Did Luke welcome you last night? You want to eat something?
Sure.
Come bring a chair.
Or get a plate. And a fork.
But I think our mothers wanted to make sure that everything was broader for us than it had been for them.
we had a better life than they did.
Well, I think that's true of most parents.
I do too.
Yeah.
Come right here, Nathan. There's a chair right here. This will be your second.
So how old was Kay when she died?
74,
74.
Almost
75.
75. Almost
I
75.
was pretty young. I know how upset Brinkley was over that. I mean, it was really hard for her.
See, I think what happened with Brinkley and Mother is that they, well, this often happens in families, they became much closer
After.
in later years.
Yeah. Well, Zoe and I did too.
And Pat and I did. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's a normal
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Eat up.
Yeah.
We're all sitting there.
He's already complaining about dorm food, and he's only a freshman.
Well, that's the best time to complain about it. I mean, it's awful. That first shock is terrible.
That's Jell-O.
This is James.
And it's
Oranges?
Beans. Cookies, probably.
We had two. Jake called and Mike Williams.
just okay. One of the things that I did, and we've talked about most of this, I went through John's work and fleshed it out. In other words, looked at it a little bit different, how people were when, you know, who was where when. And what I wanted, there's a book here if someone wants to write it. That was one thing that Mother always tried to get Brinkley to do.
To write a book.
She tried, Mother really, constant conversation was, why don't you put all of these things on paper? Because there is a novel. There is a book
In all of
I
this.
think she still hopes to do that.
in all of this.
See, I think when Brinkley dies, we're going to find a ton of journals.
Oh, we know that.
She does one every day. She writes every day.
Every day. So I think the book is
In there.
In there. Mhm.
But anyway, what I did, I looked at what John had done, and I looked at it a little bit different. I mean, I just extrapolated is all I did. But actually, our grandmother and grandfather lived a long time, when you think about it, because grandmother died in 1944, and she would have been 72, so she was in her 70s. She died of pneumonia.
It was pneumonia.
Yes.
She didn't have diabetes, though, as far as you know, because somebody told me she had diabetes and that she was blind because she had diabetes.
No, Uncle Edgar had diabetes very,
Uncle
very badly.
Edgar did.
Right, he lost a leg.
He lost his eyesight, and his son lost both legs, and died at a very young age, like 50.
So somewhere it was on grandmother's side, or either his daddy's side. I mean,
Right. And I have had even trouble with it from time to time.
Diabetes?
Not to the point that I had to have medication, but I've had to watch my diet at times because my blood sugar gets a little elevated.
Oh.
But when you have to fill out that question, is there any physical history of major illness in your family? I just say no, there's no real cancer, there's no real diabetes.
Well, see, but did you know that there's heart disease in our family? Brinkley never told us that. That's how our grandfather died of heart disease, right?
No, it was cancer.
Oh, cancer. That's right. She said it was heart disease. She said it was a stroke, and it's cancer.
Who
See,
died of
that's
cancer?
Mr. Kraft.
Did he? I didn't know that.
What kind of cancer do you know?
I never knew of anybody having cancer in those years.
I just remember that it was
It
cancer.
was cancer. It was. I
I was
remember.
just 5 at the time.
She was just. I remember they took me to see him. But I confirmed that with another member of the family on